Hi everyone, welcome to Yoga for Tango Dancers. If you are new to my channel, I invite you to subscribe and like this video if you enjoy it, and I'm happy to have you with me. Today we are going to talk about a nice post-workout, post-busy day yoga sequence that is comprised of all of my favorite poses. This is what I tend to do pretty much on a daily basis, so I'm excited to share a little bit of my personal sneak peek of my practice, so I hope you enjoy it. You're going to need a couple of props. One is a pillow, and then the other one is going to be a couple of blocks. Now, if you don't have blocks, you can adjust grabbing some big books or maybe a shoebox or something. You'll see what we use it for is not too technical, so you might find some other things that will work for you. Okay, let's get started. So what we're going to do first is one of my favorite side stretch lunges, and this is the part where we're going to use a block. So what we're going to start with is coming into a lunge on the knees. So I will place my right foot forward. So if you're mirroring me, you can put your left foot forward, and your block is going to be over to your right. And I have it pretty high, but you can adjust the height as you need. You'll see once we're doing it, you'll see if you need it. All right, so for this stretch in particular, I have both of my knees are at 90 degrees. And then all you're going to do is place your hand on the block. And I want it kind of further away from me. So I place it on the block and then reach my other arm over the head. So for you, if you have your left leg forward, your left arm is going over and you're stretching. So this is where the block is coming in handy, but as you notice, you could just go to the ground. So it's up to you. You can try different ways. And as I'm doing this, I'm pulling my hips away from the stretch of my arm to get that nice opening through here. Usually that feels really nice after a long day of sitting in front of the computer. And as you're doing this, you can open the chest a little bit towards the ceiling and maybe close towards the floor. So different directions will give you a different experience. We'll go for another 3, 2, and 1. And release. Come back to center and we'll just switch sides. So once again, I'm going to start with bringing my other leg forward. For you, if you're mirroring me, it will be your right leg is forward. If you need your block, you can have it available. Otherwise, if you know you'll go to the floor, that's fine. So from here, we'll go ahead and bring your left arm, your left hand, either to the floor or to the block, and then reach the right arm up and over. And then I'm pulling the hips in the opposite direction from the stretch of the arm. Breathing into it. You might explore the direction of your chest, maybe looking up or turning toward the floor, finding different places that can benefit from this opening. Good. Another 3, 2, and 1. Come back to center and just come back onto your hands and knees for a moment. And here, just feel the spine through some undulations. So I'll do a side view here. We're going to allow the spine to open into a cow pose shape. And then exhale, rounding the spine into cat pose. And you notice that I'm kind of going forward and back as I'm undulating the spine. This gives me a little bit more opening in the back body when I'm rounding the spine and going back. One more time. Good. And then from here, the next pose that we're going to do is pigeon pose. And so with pigeon pose, you might need your pillow. So we have that handy for that purpose. Let me show it from the front first. So you'll bring your right foot forward into a lunge, and then you walk your foot over to the side, and then place the shin on the ground. So it will look something like this. Maybe I'll turn a little bit so you can see a bit more. Now, you can place your right foot a little bit closer to your pelvis, which will make the stretch a little less intense, or you can bring it a little bit forward to make the stretch more intense. Now, the pillow can go under your hip. Let me turn this way. The pillow can go under your hip to support, like so. And if you want even more support, you can take 2 pillows, or you can have the pillow on the block. Really, as much support as you want. Let's begin first with just an elevated pigeon pose here. And again, this is where your blocks might come in handy. You can place them a little bit in front of you and then press away from the blocks to create a bit more opening in the chest. Good. Breathing here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now walk your hands forward and then see if you can begin to lower to the floor. So the elbows might lower to the blocks. I can put them right there, so I have a little bit of support here, or you can go all the way to the floor. It really doesn't matter. What matters is if you're getting the sensation of opening in the hips, specifically in your right hip right now. So you want to breathe into that area and create a feeling of relaxation around it. This can be pretty intense, right? So anytime you feel that intensity, see if you can back up and create a little bit of space around it so it's not so alarming in your body. So let's be here together for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly coming up. Now, to come out of this pose, all you need to do is shift over to the side and bring your other leg forward. You can move the pillow to the side, and we're going to just shift over to double pigeon. So you leave your right leg where it is, and you bring your left leg on top. So double pigeon can be pretty intense. So I'll go over a couple of modifications. First of all, if you come into this shape and this knee is way, way up, you might just decide to sit on a pillow, which will give you a little bit of support, a little bit of elevation, and tilting your pelvis forward a little bit, which will help to release this knee. So that's the first modification that I want you to have available. If that still doesn't help and your knee is way high, I want you to just place your shin in front into this crisscross applesauce shape. You will have the same stretch, the same area will be targeted, but just not as intensely. So that's for those of you who are needing a little bit of modification. If you are with me into the double pigeon or shin to knee pose, what we're going to do is think about lining up the shins one on top of the other so that bottom foot is right under my top knee. And then from here, bring your hands behind you and gently press yourself so that the pelvis rocks forward. And already that will create some opening around your hip joint. And perhaps that is enough. If you want to go further, you might decide to put a little bit of weight into that top shin. And again, you want to proceed very carefully with lots of breathing, relaxing the face, relaxing all the other muscles that are not necessarily participating. When I go forward, I'm also thinking about reaching my heart forward. So I'm not thinking head towards the floor. I'm thinking heart forward towards you. So that gives you a little bit of that tilting of the pelvis that creates the stretch. Now here's where your blocks might be handy. Maybe you go to your elbows, elbows on blocks, maybe elbows on the floor. It's up to you. But wherever you are, we'll do another 3 and 2 and 1. Slowly coming back. Now in this shape, what feels really good is a side stretch. So bring your left hand to the floor and begin to lean over to the side and reach your right arm over. And there's a nice feeling of stretch for me from this kind of side area where it meets the hip, because this foot is pushing on the hip and fixing it down. So that feels really nice for me. And again, you can modify as you need. And then pressing up, come up. Maybe try to the other side. It's a little different. Notice which one you like more. And then coming up. And then we're going to go into pigeon pose on the other side. So you're going to leave your left leg forward and you're going to send your right leg back. And here we are in the pigeon pose on the other side. You might want to put a pillow under your hip, adjust where your foot is, how close it is to your pelvis. So you want to make sure it's appropriate so that your knee feels comfortable. And then at first, let's pause here in the elevated position. You can bring your hands to the blocks. And again, feel that nice opening through the chest as you are holding the position. I'm going to turn sideways so that you see a little bit better. So here we are. I'm really opening through that upper part of the spine. Let's go ahead and then come down. So maybe you bring your elbows to the blocks or you go to the floor. Really, it's up to you. Let yourself just melt over that area where you feel the most stretch. Usually I hold this stretch for maybe 30 to 60 seconds. But there are some times that you might want to hold it for longer, and that will be more of like a yin approach. For yin yoga, you would hold a stretch for maybe 1.5 to 3 minutes, and in that way you're actually getting into some of the stretching in the connective tissue, which doesn't stretch as easily or as readily as muscles. So if you feel like what we're doing is not long enough, you can come back to this stretch and hold it for a little longer. All right, let's go ahead and come up. And we'll shift the weight to the side, bring the other leg forward, and place it on top. Once again, you have your modifications. You can sit on the pillow, or you can just bring the shin in front into a nice crisscross position. but we'll go ahead and stick with the shin to knee variation here. Once you situate yourself, make sure your foot here, the top foot, is nice and neutral. Sometimes we go into this pose and the foot is going this way, which can create a little tension on the outside of the shin and maybe in the knee. So we want to keep this ankle foot kind of nice and relaxed and in the neutral position. Let's bring the hands behind you. And then from there, just tipping the pelvis forward and check in and see, oh, is the hip letting go? Is it feeling okay? Does it want to go any further? If you're already getting a lot of stretch, you can just stay here. If you want a little bit more, then you bring your weight forward into your arms. Your arms into the shin and just apply a little bit of weight. If you want a little bit further, you go to the blocks or you go to the floor, whichever you like more. But wherever you are, there's still that intention of the pelvis is actually tipping forward slightly and the chest, the heart reaches forward. I'm not thinking head down to the floor. Let's go ahead and breathe here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and come up. Move the blocks to the side. Oh, and we're going to do our side stretch before we come out of this. So once again, let's have your right hand on the floor, and then the left arm stretches up and over. Notice how it feels on this side. Breathing into that lengthening of the side body. Let's go ahead and come up, and we go to the other side. And then pressing up. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and release the legs. Stretch them out in front. Shake it out. And we'll finish with a forward bend. Very simple. Again, some modifications for you here. If sitting on the floor with your legs stretched means that you're kind of sitting like this with your weight more behind your sit bones and your lower back rounded, then take a pillow or 2 or 3 and sit up so that the pillows are tilting your pelvis a little bit forward so that you have this nice neutral spine. Then you might decide that your knees can't really be too straight, so the knees can be slightly bent. You might put another pillow under the knees. You might even experiment if you have blocks. You can put blocks under the knees. So it can look something like this. So I'll leave this for now and show you the full pose. So we're going to reach up through the arms and then gently come forward over the legs and try to relax forward. Now, you might go all the way. Maybe you only come here and you already feel a lot of the stretch in the hamstrings. So you might decide to just stay here. Wherever you are, the intention once again is not diving the head towards the shins. It's to elongate the spine forward and release it as if I'm really aiming to bring my lower belly to the thighs and then the ribs to the thighs and proceeding this way. So let me show you the full version without the props. Reaching through the arms and coming forward. Now here, the head is kind of hovering above the floor. You can put your pillow across the shins or grab your block, put it on the highest height, and rest your head. In this way, this pose becomes more restorative so that you're not having to work very hard. You can kind of chill out
I love doing this pose at night before going to bed. This is one of those poses that makes me very sleepy, especially when done in this restorative way. So for now, we're not going to hold it for very long, so you're not going to be too tired. But let's be here together for 10 nice breaths. So breathing in, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Use your arms, press into the ground and come up. Move your block to the side. And then from here, you can just slowly come out of the pose. Maybe you sit on your shins, maybe you sit cross-legged. And just kind of have a sense of your body, feel what your mood is like now after doing those few poses. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more relaxed. I'm very grateful for you joining me during this practice today. Let me know what you experienced, how it felt in your body. You can pop it into the comments below. And I hope that I see you next week for another edition of Yoga for Healthy Tango. If you're interested in doing some more work with me, I teach a class on a weekly basis on Tuesdays from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific time called Solo Tango Essentials, which is a class meant for tango dancers to work on their own technique individually. And I bring in a lot of the yoga understanding, the yoga principles, and apply them to the movements that tango is so well known for. So if you're interested in that, check out the link that I'm providing in the description, and I hope to see you soon. Have a great day.